Hello. I want to believe that everything is good now, but all right, there we go. I forgot. I keep forgetting that every time I exit the OBS, it goes haywire. But yeah, really quick. Thank you for letting me know, Julia and David. Sorry about that. Um, also, Carol. We have the sound back because I can see it over here. But yeah, I wanted to get this out as soon as possible. I also wanted to let the people who joined the stream, maybe not on stream, but as a video on demand, the VOD. This is a live stream, so it might take a little bit longer than a normal video. I would have made a normal video if I had the time. But between editing and making sure everything is good, the video might have come out 2 days later, and the situation is now. And I want to give a realistic take as well as show you some of the information that we have on this whole situation, which is pretty crazy, in my opinion, the way things have been. I hope everyone has been doing well. If you're rushed, the only real thing that I can say for anyone who just wants to know really quick what the situation is, there are power outages. They're all around the country. They establish a schedule that they can't seem to uphold, which is a problem, and which is what a lot of me and my coworkers were complaining about this morning, because we were supposed to have a power outage at 9, if I remember correctly. No, I think it was supposed to be at 8, and it started at 9. So we were like at like around 9:10, 9:15. So we were like, oh, there's probably not going to be a power outage because it didn't start. Hour and 15 minutes later, power outage. So pretty annoying. And if my voice is not good, I had to work in the morning. I just finished giving an online class, an English class. So right now I'm just like in my last leg, pretty much, of what I can do. So yeah, thank you for being here. Let's talk. First, let me see if I can pull up the information. Let's see here. I have to set this up. I have to set up this. This thing. Hold up. Not this. Not this. Dun, dun. Okay. So for anyone who didn't know or hasn't seen it, there is a page where you can check. You can follow along with me if you'd like. Let me make sure it's sent. Yes. Programación, racionamiento. So here you have to search for the power company that you have, the electric company, and you have to, of course, click on the PDF and then go into your specific zone. For me, specifically, I live in Porto. I also opened up the Guayaquil one because I thought that mine was pretty annoying when I looked at the schedule. Because of course, like I said, they give you a schedule that they don't actually fulfill. Although supposedly that's going to change, and I'm going to show you an article about that. Because today they said something that does not have people happy. Although none of this, I think, has anyone happy. For anyone who watched my 1 month cost of living, we do pay a lot for electricity, at least personally. So I feel like if we pay a lot for the electricity, it just doesn't make sense for us to have these outages, or if we have the outages, for them not to be as planned out as they tell you that they're going to be. For anyone who saw the situation unfold, literally yesterday, they told everyone that there was going to be a power outage for certain provinces in the country. And yes, that assumedly did happen. I can't say because I don't live in those provinces. But then at the end of yesterday, at about 11 o'clock, they send out these communications telling us that the outages are not going to be the way that they had originally intended. Because originally, they had said it was going to be from, at one point on Thursday last week, it was going to be from, I think it was 9 or 10 until 6 in the morning. Then they changed it so that each province had a specific sector rationing, and our sector was from 12 to 3. Okay, that's what happened on Thursday. We had that power outage. Cool. Then the week after, like I said, this Sunday, they had already told us that for this week we were going to have the rationing from 10 until 6 or 9 until 6. And then at 11 o'clock, when everyone, in theory, should be asleep because we're getting ready to wake up for work the next day, boom, we get these schedules. These crazy, you could almost say whack schedules. Because for Puerto Viejo, like I said, this morning, we had the power outage from 8, not really because it started at 9, until 11, technically 11:10. And then again from 2, technically 2:08 because I was at work when that happened, until 5. And it's kind of, it's not even kind of, it's really frustrating because a lot of us had thought that the scheduling, the rationing was like you know what the rationing is for, because there's a situation, there's a power crisis in the country right now. But they set up schedules originally, and I made the post on my community tab, that they couldn't complete. And it's not that, and yes, okay, we're gonna go into the reasoning behind what's happening, because there are some posts, some articles talking about it. And it's not like they don't want to fulfill it, but they could at least be a little bit more organized about it. If the situation was as bad as they're saying it is, it makes no sense that they inform us so late. Kind of like what everyone was saying in the comments, because there's a post on Reddit. It's like they did it on purpose. like we'll tell them last minute, so that way they don't really have time to prepare, or it's just like we kind of want to save face so no one notices, and boom, the outages just go out. Even the rationing today, one person I remember had written that the reason why they started it late at 9 was so that they could say, oh, we gave you an extra hour, so be appreciative of us because we did that, be grateful. Which, at this point, I wouldn't put it past the government. I don't want to say that the government is like bad, but it's like, it's very unorganized. Even all this in theory was avoidable if we would have programmed ahead of time. Then again, previous governments, so like I said before, there's also this one, like, I don't live in Guayaquil, but I wanted to show Guayaquil because the division of the sectors is just, it's like you have to read through some kind of like puzzle here. It can be very confusing, especially for people who don't live here. Or it can definitely be very confusing. So if you're in that situation where you're new here, or you're not like used to the system, don't worry. It's confusing for everyone. I was literally the first person this morning. Like normally I'll get the news from somewhere, or I'll hear it from someone else. But literally this morning when I woke up, I saw the post on X, on Reddit. Not X, not Reddit. On X, on previously known as Twitter. And I saw the communications, and I was like, oh, I bet you someone from my work already posted about this in WhatsApp or on Facebook or something. And no, I went into WhatsApp and nothing. So I literally took the screenshot and I told everyone, good morning, are we doomed? Because it's just so silly, like the way that this works. Because they literally wait until like the last minute to tell us. So everyone's already asleep, and we wake up to this kind of news, and it's like we have to just like prepare for it, like very last minute. Hold up. David Spriggs, yeah, the schedule is a joke and is an issue for me as a remote worker. I mean, even for people working, like I'm at the high school and we need the projectors, we need the technology. Like, yes, we have plan Bs, but it's like don't like it's not the school's fault. Like, come on, government, let us know what the actual schedule is with a decent amount of time to prepare for it. Julia, it's so good to complain about it. I totally relate with you, David. We're in the same boat. It's just sometimes I don't want to complain, because like I know that when you complain, people tell you that you're like people start telling you you're unappreciative, but oh, look at the good things. But like right now, with how the situation in the country is, we have to observe how it's declining and make an analysis based on that, which in fact, there's news. Here's the news. So the energy minister, and this was something that I got a message at around like 5 from my coworkers. Like I said, I'm getting the news sometimes from them, or in the morning I was the one who gave it, but I was the one who was like gave the bad news. But here it is. Literally the only way to deal with the energy crisis, the electricity crisis, the situation in the country, in Ecuador, is it either rains or we have more power cuts. There was even a part, like I got an image, like I said, that it said that they're literally working with the last 14 meters of like water, and if it doesn't really get resolved, it's like there's gonna just be the way I interpreted it was there's gonna be a perpetual blackout, which I don't think is convenient for anyone in the country. And I don't know if this is just gonna continue and become a blackout that doesn't end, because part of this article, which I'm gonna show you, if you check over here, he literally says that it's not something that he can guess, because it's something that only God knows. Like in Spanish, you would say "Solo Dios sabe." Like it's a situation that right now in the country, we're so dependent on the hydroelectric power that there's a chance that it just doesn't rain. And if it doesn't rain, we might literally end up with no power. I hope everyone who's here and everyone who eventually watches this video understands that, yes, for some people, it's not a big deal. Yes, there's the countryside. Yes, you can argue that you can survive without power. But let's not be too how would I put this? Too positive about it either. We have to accept that the situation is not good and that it could get worse. Now, there's a political part that I don't know if I want to get too into right now, because I did want to make a separate video on it. But a lot of people are blaming the current government on this situation. Like, yes, Noboa, yes, your cardboard president, because he had those cardboards of him. Yes, the guy who's just showing himself on social media doing things. But come on, you can't blame the person who just got into power for a situation that has clearly existed for years. Yes, it is very coincidental that right now there are droughts, severe droughts. A lot of people did not take the climate crisis, which is very much not just an Ecuador thing. A lot of people did not take the climate crisis seriously, and now we're kind of paying the consequences for it. Man, if my voice sounds terrible, I apologize. I just got out of being sick, and I feel like I still haven't recovered, and I've been talking all day. Ken's comment sums it up. Power is needed for our country's production. People can't go out and work, like not the way that they would normally work, without electricity. That's why a whole bunch of generators have started like selling, like people are actually buying generators. I remember when the blackout was just supposed to be like a few days, there was a news report that the stores were selling out on electric fans, on battery powered fans. They were selling out on like lights. There was a meme, I don't know if it was for real, but like the government was giving people candles, which is ridiculous. You're not going to solve the problem, and you're not going to make people happy if you give them candles. So, it's just crazy. Let's see here. They posted water rationing schedules for Quito, 12 hours at a time. I did see the comments about that, and I was like, I didn't even know that was happening. Rationing, I'm actually released to see that you care about it and talk about it. I thought that nobody cared based on what I see around me. I mean, around me, like the people that I know, like we talk about it, but we're more frustrated about how our workplace is kind of dealing with it, because I mean, we don't have power. The classrooms are uncomfortable to be in if there's no power, because there's no, I mean, it's not fresh. because even though right now the climate isn't overbearingly hot, it's still not good to be in a closed space with more than 20 people. It gets toasty, is all I'll say. Survivalist philosophy. Hello, hey, lights out here as well. Right now, I remember back in May or June, the official said, "Oh, we don't have cuts again till February 2025." I even made a video saying that I wasn't sure that there was going to be any more energy outages, no more power planned blackouts, because they had not mentioned it. But it seems like they hadn't mentioned it because they've been trying to, like, everything is going to get better. They keep getting overconfident. In my mind, they keep getting overconfident with it rains, the reserves, they fill up. They're like, oh, everything is fine. And then it just drains again. They say we are in the worst drought in 61 years. And we don't even have a way to combat it, because all of our energy is produced through these hydroelectric water plants. And for us, that's a reality too. Without electricity, we can't get water because we also have one of those pumps that brings up water. This is an issue that I'm honestly not sure how to resolve, because I don't think a change in government is going to resolve this issue. But it's funny because I remember seeing a video from Jan Topic, who was last year's, well, the previous election candidate, one of them. And he was saying that, I'm guessing his new proposal for his next run for president, his next campaign, is basically he's gonna avoid us having these power outages. I honestly don't know how anyone is gonna do that, because I think I saw an analysis saying that the only way we're gonna get a solution is the solution is gonna take, like, I think it was 3 to 5 years. So could you imagine if there's no rain? First, a nationwide power outage, which was the plan at one point, for the nation to be with a power outage, which is why they made the ridiculous comment of saying that you need whistles in order to alert the police that you're getting robbed, like as if a criminal is going to give you the time to blow a whistle. So could you imagine if there's a nationwide power outage, and not even one that's planned, but one that, because there's no water, we have no power? I don't think it'll ever get to that, because once, I mean, we'll probably start buying electricity from somewhere, or we'll find a solution. But while we wait for that, could you imagine that happening? And the next thing to think about is, what is the solution? A change in government, in my opinion, is not going to solve everything. It's not going to solve anything. It might help in the sense that people are going to feel like, oh, there's a new person here, so maybe they'll be able to do something. But once again, I keep saying this at one point when I talk to people, and I think I've mentioned it in live streams and in videos before. You can't fix a 10-year problem in a year and a half. It's just not possible. It's unrealistic. And it's crazy that anyone would think that the contrary is true. Regardless of who was in power before, there was just not a good managing of resources, a good plan towards the future to build other alternatives of power, other feasible alternatives. Because I know someone's going to say that a previous government tried to build one, but like I talked about with a friend who knows a little bit more on the subject, it wasn't going to solve anything, because the area where it's being built in would just cause problems if a power plant was built there. Let's see here. They're waiting for 2 more ships to get over the coast that will supply electricity to Ecuador. Please. hydroelectric systems can be great and can function even through droughts, but they have to be consistently and thoroughly maintained. Well, maintenance, yes, completely agree. But the problem is, and I think this is something that I talked about in a previous live stream or in a video, that the hydroelectric systems that we have, they've had problems. And because they're built using some specific Chinese parts, those parts have to be transported through a ship in order to reach Ecuador. I don't know if that's already been done, which it would be insane to me if they haven't even started to do the process for that. I haven't checked that out enough yet. But if they haven't even started that, we are in big trouble. I want everyone who's here or everyone who joins to know that the situation is not looking good. It's not even me trying to be a doomer, I think that's what I've heard people call it when someone tries to give bad news, realistic bad news, because I'm saying it how it is, and as everyone in the comments right now are saying, this is what's happening. But we have to be realistic. The situation is not good. It's funny because I recently made my definitive answer for people to visit, but that might actually have to change, because if the situation is bad, like I just read a while ago about, let's see here, from David, about being a remote worker. For someone coming over here and not being able to do their remote work, it just doesn't seem like the ideal place to be right now for people who need to work. It's not good. And even for people who want to visit, do you want to visit and have to like restrict your schedule because of power outages? No. That ain't right, and that's not good. The winds here in the north should be utilized with windmills. There's a lot of things that I feel like should be done, but the country is just, I don't know if the government just doesn't see it as something feasible, if there's no budget for it, even though we're being charged extra in taxes. I find it hard to understand what's happening in a country that has so much potential that we can't solve something like an energy crisis. Is the or am I underestimating the drought? Maybe that's my problem too. Maybe that's something that we're overlooking as well, because like the buck stop here said, they say we are in the worst drought in 61 years. But then we go back to the idea that couldn't we have used some foresight and be prepared for that? Like, couldn't we have like set everything up so that we didn't have to go through this situation? Man, it's just so hard to understand how we got here and why I'm getting this sinking feeling that it's going to be hard to get out. For everyone who's here, and like I said, for everyone who joins the live stream at a later date, I'm going to leave the link. I definitely have to leave the link for the site that you have to use to check when your outage is going to occur. I highly recommend at this point, I'm not one to constantly give recommendations because we're all free to do what we feel is best. But I highly recommend that if you can get a generator, if you can live in a place with a generator, if you can get, even if not a generator, have the tools, maybe an electric fan if you live in a very warm place, battery powered, lights, and apparently a whistle. I don't recommend that whistle, by the way. That's just the silliest recommendation I've ever heard from a policeman, and I've heard pretty crazy things from them. Yeah, I recommend you be very prepared right now if you're living in Ecuador or if you plan to visit or travel to Ecuador. If you're visiting Ecuador, go to the Galapagos, please. I feel like you're gonna have a bad time having to reorganize your whole schedule, your itinerary, while you're in mainland Ecuador with how the situation is. If you're traveling to Ecuador, you might as well just go to Galapagos because at least from what I know, you don't really need power to explore nature unless you've got something that you need. It's just so hard to understand what's happening. Damien, hello. Seems like Ecuador is falling apart in terms of an ideal location for expat retirees. At this moment, you could say that that's actually the case. I mean, we can talk about cheapness all we want, but like, do you need power? Yes, I think a lot of people are going to say yes. We were actually talking about that with my coworkers. We become so dependent on power that it's hard to do the things that people used to do before without power. Jairus, yes, I work remote. I had to buy a power bank. Infrastructure issues as they impact tourism is something I've been harping on almost the whole time I've lived here, especially with the agua potable situation. Yeah. You know what's another sad thing? Like I have Claro as my internet source, like not my internet source, my phone plan and my phone internet. And I thought since Claro is more of like the nationwide internet service in terms of phone plans, I was like, I'm gonna have internet at least, and I'm gonna see if I can live stream earlier. I didn't have internet. When there was no power, I didn't have internet. So I was like, are you kidding me? And no, I'm not kidding you. Of course, that's the way it works. We are human and it's affecting us, so we are concerned because of the uncertainty. Believe me. I was going to say, where did the 3% increase in sales tax go? I read on the last time sales tax went up. It was because of the earthquake, and most of the money went to that area. But now we always ask ourselves the same things. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. It's hard to say what the government does with the money because they tell us that they do one thing with it. They tell us they're going to do something with it, yet we don't see the results, at least in our day-to-day lives. How do you think the power outages will affect the ongoing security situation? Just think about what the government did the other day when they decided to switch from the idea, because they had originally said it was going to be a nationwide power outage. The whole country was going to be without power. And they quickly realized it was like one of those, it was at this moment that he knew he fucked up. Because how are you going to take away power from the whole country? You're basically, that was basically like giving the criminals a free pass. And everyone was and everyone I know was talking about it. Like, we are in trouble. Like, how are you going to, like, I remember one of my coworkers, an inspector at the school, like inspectors, they're like people who, they're not teachers, but they make sure that the classrooms are in order. They'll go and they'll be like, oh, this student's misbehaving. Okay, they'll write them down. The inspector was saying he was planning on like not sleeping, like literally like staying as like a guard outside of his house with something equivalent to a weapon, not a gun or anything, but like something like to be able to defend his house. Because who could sleep knowing that there's no security, everything is pitch black? It was going to be a nightmare for Ecuador. Government official communication here is clear as mud. I'm glad you understand what the reality of Ecuador is, because I think a lot of people sometimes they think I'm crazy when I say that no, things are not, things are like this. No, Things aren't what you think they are sometimes. Steve and LaShawn from Living Loving Abroad. Man, how are things where you're at right now? Because over here, like I'm over here and I don't want to say I'm panicking, but I am very concerned. I don't know how they want us to keep up our way of living in this kind of situation. And it's not even the fault, like I keep saying it, but I don't even think it's the fault of the current government. This is just very bad coordination from the previous government. Absolutely terrible. And I'm awake right now acting like I don't have work tomorrow morning. Hold up, let me open up. No, no, no. All right. So right here, if you look at this, this is like the comments from a Reddit post talking about this whole crisis and stuff. And it's like they say, like there's this one person whose name is Angel Edu SS, and they're basically saying that they live in like a small city that doesn't even consume like 5% of what Guayaquil or Quito like consumes, and they have 8 hours of a power outage. They do virtual work, and they're trying to do their best to make their battery last, and then edit. Now it's 11 hours for them. the The power outages don't even feel fair from what they're saying. And the first comment is the one that I basically started off saying. Like, what's the point of having a programmed power outage if you don't even follow the schedule? Like a lot of that's some part of the arguments that we were having, conversation we were having with our coworkers. Like, we organize, we coordinate, so that way we know like at what time you have to disconnect the things, what time you have to be prepared just in case the power outage happens. And it's like it doesn't happen at the time that it's supposed to happen, and boom, then it happens at a different time. Although according to the article that I opened up earlier, the one over here, this one, according to this article, it basically says at the end that the minister apologized for not having announced the power outages with more time, but he assures now that the country will not be lied to and that the cuts will be notified in time. Basically, hopefully not the very last minute. The buck stopped here. Many neighborhood watch groups were patrolling at night here. Thank goodness. Over here, that did not happen. But a good thing was because we didn't have to have that happen. Dylan, during his election to campaign, Mr. Noboa said he had a plan to fix things in 9 months. He said he would invest in transmission lines to Peru and Colombia. He hasn't done so. Another one of the things that we have to hold him accountable for. Other than power outages, it's pretty normal. Our friends were worried about security at their home, but things seem okay so far. Thank goodness. Only 4K of 10 million assigned to transmission lines has been spent, according to Teleamazonas. Current government can't be blamed for like droughts, but they sure could be managing things, prioritizing things better. Agreed. Everyone has cuts. We must all sacrifice given the situation. For sure. The current government has taken no serious action to fix the situation. Now that it's become even more serious, I'm hoping that they start doing something about this, because if not, you can forget about Noboa being elected again, because now the situation is in crisis levels. And I don't know if they were waiting for it to get to crisis levels in order to become the saviors, but it's not good. It seems really bad for businesses. As soon as the juice came back this afternoon, we went to our favorite little family restaurant. That's amazing of you. You gotta. It's always good to support the places that you know are gonna suffer the most. And sorry, my voice is not good because, like I said, I've been talking all day. We had one Sunday unannounced. That was this Sunday that they just randomly came up with, like, I think it was 12 provinces that needed to have power outages. The minister wasn't even in the country till yesterday. The president isn't here. They don't care. I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but since when do people with money care about the people who don't have money? It's unfortunate, but that's kind of always seems to be the situation over here. The people with money live in a completely different situation than what you would consider to be a normal Ecuadorian. That's why in my video, and there was a video where I said that, like, it's not that I don't want to consider people with money not Ecuadorians. Like, it's not that I don't want to consider them Ecuadorians. It's just hard to put them in the same group as what most Ecuadorians I know are like, or what they live through, what we live through. My first outage was supposed to be from 6 to 10, and the power went out for the first time at 3 p.m. You could, at least in a way, you could say that thank goodness you didn't lose power from 6 to 10. Dylan, he lost his re-election. Correa will be back and fix the country again. I still don't think, I don't know if Correa is the solution. I'm not going to go against it either, because honestly, I can only give my opinion based on what I know and what I've analyzed. I really want to see at what the next possible solution is. Not go back in time, but see what another solution looks like. Like Jan Topic right now really sounds appealing because of his proposals for safety and supposedly finding a solution to keep the lights on. The last round of outages, the schedule was off for the first day or so. Definitely. We had blackouts in Korea's first years. He fixed the problems before. We don't know what's going to happen. Honestly, it's hard to say. That's why I'm not going to go for or against it. I just don't want to go to a previous solution. I want to see what the possible future has in store. And I would love to keep talking, guys, but my throat is giving out. I'm not feeling great. This was more of a public service announcement again, that the situation, it's not good. For anyone who did not know what was happening in the country, this is the situation, this is the crisis, and we have to prepare for it. I'm going to send need to send this one more time so that everyone can read through it. Search for your area, see what the power outage schedule is like, and prepare for it. if what the Minister of Energy said is true, they're going to be more on time and less random with it. And it's going to be good to be prepared. Once again, I recommend go out, buy something. If you have the means to get a generator, go ahead. Definitely some lights, flashlights maybe. Electric fan if you live in cold areas, a battery-powered fan. Please just stay safe out there. If you live in an area that's possibly questionable, I don't know who doesn't have these things, like the rejas. But if you don't have them, consider having something like this installed, just in case. I don't want to be the doom and gloom of society, but hey, if I have to be negative Nancy in order to keep you safe, then that's what I'm going to do. That's who I'm going to be. So please, I will update you if anything happens. I still have videos in mind. Yes, today I was actually interviewing some people, some of my coworkers, and I still have to interview some more people for a video that I want to make on a separate topic, a little bit more an Ecuador culture. But yeah, I'm gonna read the last few comments. Julie, thanks for this live. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time. Wish me luck at work tomorrow. Wind energy on the coast, solar farms. We talked about this in a previous live stream. It's very expensive to install solar power, though I think what it's costing everyone to not have solar power and to have these outages is probably worse. I don't think Topic is the solution. He sounds like the savior and promising a lot. Will end up being another Novoa 2.0. I honestly don't know. That could be the case. What I do want to leave as a final thing, like aside from what I'm saying, in regards to the political things that I might talk about in a separate video when we get closer to elections. What was it? It's the idea that, well, I keep going back to this idea that no matter who we elect, I kind of feel like the situation isn't going to change immediately because it's always been like that. Every government that's come in promises a lot, but doesn't end up fulfilling it, supposedly due to the corruption that's embedded in the government. It's hard to say. I'm not in the government to tell you, hey, this is what's actually happening. But you just assume that that's the situation based on everything that you see. And it gets tiring. For people from the outside coming in, it looks nice because everything is cheap. People are nice and friendly. But when you live here and you see how things are, you kind of get frustrated with how things don't change. And you realize that money that's supposed to be spent on something specific is spent on something else. And then you feel like you're getting ripped off and you've been lied to. And then it just cycles into a whole different problem. I feel like there was something else I had to say. It's just, it completely disappeared from my mind. But we'll talk about it at a later date if it comes back. You have to invest in energy. It takes time and you have to diversify. Builders can have solar in place as part of their plans. I really hope that that's what happens. I don't want it to be the solution, but I kind of hope that Noboa is like, I don't want to say it like this, but he's letting us suffer so that he can come in and be the savior and like, oh, we've been constructing these solar power plants. So no, this government does resolve or something like that. I mean, obviously I don't want that, but like I would prefer that than to keep suffering with these power outages because it's going to affect businesses. It's going to affect people. It's going to be hard. Thank you for being here, everyone. We will talk soon. I will try to have new videos out ASAP. Take care and stay safe out there. ASAP.